This fellow practitioner asks, the demons of the mind arise from within. How can we let the Buddha triumph over them? The Buddha is said to dwell in the heart, and all goodness flows from this. But if someone commits evil deeds, how can they be guided to abandon evil and return to good? The Sutra on the 10 Wholesome Ways of Action explains this very question.
十善业道经呢，就是给你解释这个问题。
The Buddha and the demon are not two separate beings. They are one and the same. When one awakens, the demon turns into the Buddha. When one is deluded, the Buddha becomes the demon.
就变成魔了。
Thus, with one moment of enlightenment, the Buddha is in your heart. With one moment of confusion, the demon is in your heart. The Buddha teaches us to remain ever mindful and awake. This may sound abstract, but in practice we often say during our lectures, a single thought for oneself, for selfish gain, this is the mind of a demon.
再说，
When that thought turns toward benefiting others and serving all beings,
就是魔，这个心就是魔。念头转过来，
this is the mind of the Buddha.
这个心就是佛。所以
Therefore, transforming self-centered thoughts into thoughts that serve society and all living beings is of utmost importance.
这一点呢，非常非常的重要。
If one can truly make this shift, naturally they will abandon evil and turn toward goodness.
我向善。
This question was asked by this fellow practitioner. There are termites in my home. Without using insecticide, we cannot live there. But if we do spray, we will be killing living beings. What should we do? This is not only your concern, many people face the same dilemma.
许许多多人呢都有这个问题。
As we often mention in our lectures, termites are also living beings.
谈到，白蚁它也是个动物，它也
They are sentient creatures, and we should treat them with compassion.
要以善心待它。
Both worldly and enlightened sages have told us sincerity brings about spiritual resonance. If we cannot communicate with these small creatures, it means our sincerity is not yet deep enough. What is sincerity? A pure mind is sincerity. As the ancients said, when not even a single thought arises, that is sincerity. If our mind is filled with scattered or impure thoughts, we are not truly sincere, and communication becomes impossible. But when the mind is pure and genuine, we can communicate and even invite them to move elsewhere. Thus, if we sincerely cultivate virtue and abandon wrongdoing, we can move these beings with our heart.
这些小众生，我们
In the biography of Master Yin Guang, it is said that in his early years, his quarters were often disturbed by mosquitoes and fleas.
这个疗法他住的房间，早年呢也有蚊虫，有跳蚤，有这些东西干扰啊。
His attendants wanted to remove them, but the old monk said, no need.
弄清楚。
When asked why, he replied, "My virtue is still insufficient. Their presence serves as a reminder to me."
我是个警惕。
It is said that after Master Yin Guang turned 70, there was not a single small creature left in his dwelling. They had all moved away.
搬家了，搬走了。
Such beings, when encountering a person of true virtue and compassion, develop reverence and no longer cause any disturbance. From this, we can see that moral cultivation is the best way to resolve such difficulties. Let us follow the example of the great masters and try it ourselves.
解这些麻烦最好的方法我们不妨试试看学学祖师大德。
In Singapore and the United States, some devoted practitioners have tested this method and found it effective.
告诉我很有效果。
Even if the creatures did not disappear completely, their numbers decreased significantly, a sign that their cultivation had improved.
你自己修行功夫有进步了。
This fellow practitioner is the one who asked, "When reciting the Buddha's name or sitting in meditation, how should one form the hand mudra?" This is not a very important matter. But if you wish to use a mudra, that's fine too.
喜欢接应也好。
What is a mudra? In essence, it is a form of hand language. In Buddhism, a mudra is simply a symbolic gesture, a way of expressing meaning and mutual understanding from heart to heart.
代表什么意思？大家都晓得。
When we look at statues of Amitabha Buddha, how are his hands positioned? His hands are placed flat, palms upward, with the thumbs gently touching. This is called the Amitabha Mudra. It symbolizes serenity and balance of body and mind. During seated meditation, as long as the recitation of the Buddha's name can gather and focus the mind, that is sufficient. If that is achieved, the mudra has already fulfilled its purpose.
第二个问题说，
The second question says, in Pure Land practice, should we focus solely on one sutra, the Infinite Life Sutra, and one phrase, the Buddha's name, or should we also listen to all the lectures given by the Venerable Master? That depends entirely on you. The purpose of listening to sutra lectures is to help us dispel doubts and strengthen faith. If you have absolutely no doubt about the Pure Land teachings and possess unwavering faith, then whether you listen to lectures or not does not matter. Success lies within a single phrase of the Buddha's name.
念不念、听不听都没有关系，一句佛号就成功。
However, if you still have doubts, or your faith and aspiration are not yet firm, you must listen to and read the sutras more often. Once you understand the reason behind this approach, your question will naturally be resolved.
这问题就解决了。
The third question,
追随老和尚一生修行，
for one who wishes to follow the Venerable Master's path throughout life, are there any specific requirements? How should I go about it?
就做。
Following does not necessarily mean being physically close. We all follow our fundamental teachers, Sakyamuni Buddha and Amitabha Buddha.
追随本师阿弥陀佛，
As long as we do not depart from the teachings, and we recite the Infinite Life Sutra daily, we are in truth listening directly to the instructions of the Buddha and Amitabha.
阿弥陀对我们讲开示啊，
When we read and recite with sincerity and purity of mind,
去读诵，用清净心去读诵，
realization will arise naturally.
我们读诵
If we fail to gain insight, it is because our sincerity is insufficient.
真诚心不足。
Both worldly and spiritual sages have said, sincerity brings response.
你看看这个
In Taoism, when a talisman is drawn, or in Buddhism, when a mantra is recited,
持咒，这个符咒到底灵不灵呢？
their efficacy depends entirely on the sincerity of the person.
成不成？
If the mind is sincere, the result is effective. If not, it is ineffective.
就不灵。
In Liao Fan's 4 lessons,
古人
the ancient commentators explained this clearly using the example of drawing a talisman.
画符，
If, from the first stroke to the last,
一笔下去，整个符画成功了，
not a single deluded thought arises, the talisman becomes potent. The same applies to reciting a mantra. If no wandering thought arises from beginning to end, the mantra has power.
念这咒就灵了。
But if one's mind drifts while reciting, it loses effectiveness. Hence, the longer the mantra, the more difficult it is to maintain concentration.
你像平常
For instance, the Surangama mantra recited in morning services is quite long,
人言都很长啊，
and to recite it without a single stray thought is extremely hard.
非常困难。那么念
Sutras are even longer.
经比咒更长。
So the ancients said, reciting sutras is not as effective as reciting mantras. Reciting mantras is not as effective as reciting the Buddha's name.
下去当中
The Buddha's name, Namo Amitabha Buddha, consists of 6 characters in Chinese. If you can recite these words without a single stray thought, it is the simplest and most direct way to attain a response through sincerity. This question was asked by this fellow practitioner.
是否
Is it proper to distribute or sell Buddha images? Some say selling Buddha images is equivalent to drawing blood from the Buddha's body.
这个地区
This should indeed be clarified. Distributing or even selling Buddha images is permissible. It is a form of propagation and carries no fault.
没有过失。
Selling Buddha images is not the same as drawing blood from the Buddha's body. That term refers to deliberately defacing or destroying an image of the Buddha with ill intent. That is what constitutes such an offense. If it is done unintentionally, for example, accidentally dropping and breaking a statue, it is a mistake, but not a sin.
坏了啊，这个不是有意的啊，这是过，不是罪。
However, if it is done out of anger, resentment, or deliberate malice, that is equivalent to drawing blood from the Buddha's body. Buying and selling do not fall into that category.
没有这个 不包括在这里面啊。
This question was asked by this fellow practitioner. I live by the seaside and raise marine life for a living. After learning the Dharma, I wish to sell this business,
海产这一类的东西，
but my husband disagrees.
想卖掉，先生不同意，
Will I still bear karmic consequences?
是有因果，
Yes,
确实是有因果。
there are karmic implications. You should therefore sincerely recite the Buddha's name and dedicate your practice to those suffering beings as a form of compensation. This is an expedient and compassionate way to make amends when one cannot yet change external conditions.
这个同学问的是什么是心？
This question was asked by this fellow practitioner. What does it mean to cultivate from the mind?
这个问题
Many of you should already understand this after attending several lectures. This morning, when we read the Sutra on the 10 wholesome karmic paths,
十善业道，
the Buddha taught, a bodhisattva constantly contemplates and practices wholesome Dharma, day and night.
昼夜常念善法，思维善法。
This is what it means to cultivate from the mind. To be able to sustain such mindfulness continuously, day and night, is an extraordinary achievement.
非常难得稀有。
When the mind is kind and pure, one's speech and actions will naturally create no unwholesome karma.
就不会造业了啊。